Hi dear friends, my name is Tatiana, Life and Glow Wellness, and today I want to offer you something special. It's an intuitive consulting reading, but I will call it psychological divination. It's not typical for my channel, but I like sometimes watching pick a card readings. I think they have the ability to tap into some archetypes, both collective and individual. So I hope you will enjoy the reading and let me know in the comments what insights you've got and which pack of cards resonated with you. And today I will use mostly oracle cards and metaphorical associative cards and a couple of cards from tarot. Now, to tell you the truth, I'm not the tarot specialist, even though I do practice an intuitive consulting system from Russia, but I mainly do psychological work and astrology, and I will read those cards in my own way. It doesn't necessarily reflect how other people are reading it, and also interpretations can be so different. For tarot, it can be even confusing in some way, so I ask you not to judge very strictly. Just take whatever you feel resonating with you, and if what I say does not make sense to you, that's okay. It's just not the time for these specific words. This is actually a really interesting piece because it's kind of like a heart shape, but with one side. I don't know why I like it. I think it just shows that you can always grow your heart bigger. So here we have 5 crystals: charoite, garnet, red garnet, also bloodstone, moonstone, and tiger's eye. I have 5 packs of cards which I chose for you blindly, so you can choose them by look, and I would suggest to choose by feel even. Remember that whatever I say might not resonate with you. It's up to you how much you take on and what you hear. You can also re-listen and maybe you'll hear something new. Any information I say, it's not a set in stone thing. You are not bound to experience any dramatic or positive events. It is all by choice, and there are so many factors influencing life events that one reading couldn't possibly cover it. So here is the first pack, my dear friends, and so the first 2 cards which I have here are the Knight of Wands and 4 of Swords. Again, one more time, I'm not a tarot specialist. I just use tarot as metaphorical cards, and I use some definitions, but my interpretations might vary from your own perception. So these cards can reflect your own state as well as the kind of the love weather for the next 12 months, and also can reflect someone who you meet. But mostly it's more about you in this situation, I think. So Knight of Wands tells me that there is some kind of adventurous spirit. It's more of a Sagittarian energy. There is a self-assurance, self-confidence of someone who wants to depart on a new journey. You are probably leaving something behind and you are not looking back in this case. However, the whole process is more about the trip itself rather than arriving somewhere. It can also signify certain type of, I'm not saying maximalism, but maybe naivety in terms of your aspirations, that you might not tie all the ends, so to speak, that you just have enthusiasm to do something, but you haven't thought through thoroughly something which is related to that. In terms of love, I think this can also indicate maybe desire to date and experiment and maybe meet someone who is more of a nomadic nature, someone who is not tied to a specific place. Perhaps you yourself want to change your home as well. This card in certain cases can indicate a move, whether it's within your area or further to another country or city. Just think what it can be relevant to you personally. What I encourage you to do also is to look at each card from a metaphorical card's perspective. That is, what does the card itself tells you? Who do you associate yourself with on the card? Or maybe a certain object or character. So what attracts your attention? What do you like? What you don't like? You can also think of that from this specific metaphorical card's perspective. Do you like how the person is dressed, or what they're holding and so on, or what their mood reflects? So think of how it reflects your own life. Now the second card, Four of Swords, is kind of like an opposite energy. Either it's resting, taking things slower, or possibly even retreating into your own inner world, maybe because you have fears or some wounds, you just need to restore yourself, or it's just a passive position which just tells that you are more of an observer, or I would say a passive participator of something rather than an active one, which in dating or personal life and relationships can also be restoring yourself after a certain, I'm not saying storm, but something which you didn't take up easily. And maybe you just need some time to digest it all and to figure out what to do. And think what you feel looking at the card. If you see anyone in the window, for example, any characters, who are those people or objects or whatever? How do they relate to the main character? This is Four Swords, so like, what is a sword for you here? What does it signify? Don't read it from the tarot perspective necessarily, but more think of how it resonates with you. That's what I'm trying to encourage you to. Now, looking at both of those cards together, it tells me that maybe part of you is ready for a new adventure, for a new trip, kind of like to start a new chapter in your life, whether it's a new relationship or a new approach to a relationship, or maybe it's some kind of exploration, whether in sex or in your intimacy or romantic life. And also it could be a move to some other new place and starting a new life there. And at the same time, another part of you, or perhaps your partner or someone you meet, or even you yourself, more you can relate to the second card, which reflects more of a situation when you're just not ready to do the next step and you're more like lying in bed, or I don't know, just being passive and just not really wanting to take any initiative. Whether you're hurt or just need to take some rest, it reflects the need to be more in your own world and to understand what you actually feel, what you actually want. And that could be also great in any case, even if you are going to a new trip, because to some extent, when you go somewhere new, you are leaving something behind. And these two cards together reflect that there's something left behind and it's not fully processed yet. And it's up to you whether you just want to leave it at that state, and it might echo in some way, maybe not the way you want it, in the new chapter, trip, or relationship. And maybe you want to work with it through the self-discovery, or perhaps with a practitioner like a counselor or astrologer, or someone who can help you reflect on your life and possibly let go of something which is already outdated. Or maybe you get more confidence like the Knight of Wands has, however, keeping a certain self-awareness which is required for the second card. If you see some people on the second card, for example, in the window, also think, who are those people? How do they relate to you and what they would tell you? What do you want to hear and what you don't want to hear? Even these two cards, can give some food for thought and make you reflect on what you have in your life. If you relate to one of these cards specifically, that's okay. Perhaps you can meet someone who also has the qualities of the second card. There could be also interpretation when, for example, you have two options. You're choosing between two men or women, and one of them is more of an adventurous spirit, kind of like Sagittarius type of person, who wants to explore the world and doesn't want to be tied to anything, and probably fun to be with, whether it's romantic life or sexual exploration. But they also might not necessarily be willing to commit to a relationship if you're looking for a relationship. So that second person who comes into your life, or just maybe you observe him or her somewhere, that could be more of a person who is more stable, but possibly just not ready to go into a relationship because they haven't processed what they have in their life. So they might be between relationships or something like that. It's hard to say, guys, because I don't know who is watching, what is relevant to your life. As you understand, you can be single, you can be in a relationship, or even in few relationships. So I don't know what's your situation. Just take whatever you think is relevant to you. Now, other cards which we have here is intimacy and integrity. And what is intimacy? Intimacy is when we feel safe and allow closeness to happen. So it requires a certain type of security to feel intimate to someone. Sometimes you can feel intimate with a person and then they would not justify your expectations to some extent. That's quite common, and it can sort of be more of a delusional relationship or connection. But here this card rather calls for looking for true intimacy. It says the energy of intimacy supports us trusting that we are safe to allow closeness. Very beautifully put. Now, integrity also is super crucial in relationships, and without integrity, we cannot express ourselves fully. And if you have inner conflicts in yourself, then they would most likely tell on your relationship. So, whether you feel integrated right now, or you feel torn between something, or maybe like in conflict even inside yourself or with your partner, so remember that for having true intimacy, it's important to achieve a certain level of integrity within yourself and in the relationship. And integrity also requires being truthful and honest, having certain values which you follow, because without it, you probably will not be able to find a real love. Now, the next card is Weave Your Destiny. You create your destiny, start weaving your own path. This is a very interesting card also, as it is described in the deck. This picture actually is from Peru, as far as I know. It reflects an ancient painting, if I remember it correctly. And basically what it tells us is that it's important to weave the right web, so to speak, right? So if you are weaving something which doesn't represent who you are and what you want in life, it might set you up for either be in a trap yourself or having someone trying to attract someone into your trap, which wouldn't be an authentic way to attract a compatible partner. And so remember that whatever you do, whether it's some kind of seductive moves or trying to attract someone's attention, you have to stay true to your own beliefs and values. So let's say if you don't want someone playing certain moves on you, don't use them on others, right? So treat others like you would treat yourself in a way. Spiders and cobweb here also can reflect a certain type of life labyrinth which we are going through, and by being in a certain activity like that, you can find insights and find answers to certain questions. All right, so the next cards are metaphorical cards. And as you see here, we have a musical instrument. Very interesting. Again, like I'm not supposed to read the card as metaphorical. I would rather ask a client to interpret it. But since I don't see you, I will just kind of read it as an oracle card, I guess. And look at the card and think of what emotion it evokes in you. Do you like the colors of the card? Do you like what is depicted there? What kind of instrument it could be? What does it signify to you? In a way, it's certain Venus energy as well, because Venus is one of the planets associated with music, as well as Neptune and some other planets. But overall, is it a creativity outlet for you? Or maybe you can share some music experience with your partner or with whoever you are dating. The second card, what do you see on the second card? Like, is it, if it's a hand, whose hand is it? What else do you see on the card? How do you feel looking at the card? I'll leave it up to you because I see a certain personal interpretation of the card. I don't want to impose it on you. So, but what you could ask yourself is that, is this someone offering something, or it's receiving something, or maybe asking for something? All right. You can also put them together and look at them together, how they resonate to you together. What is the process? What is the mood of the person who those cards reflect? Now, the next card is Dur Oak. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but so this card is about fertility, sexuality, strength, and stability, grounding, endurance, and ancient knowledge. And oak is a very solid tree, and by the way, it's associated with the letter D, in this specific oracle deck. Maybe you know someone who has a name with the letter D, starting with the letter D. And also it's April 18th, May 15th for the Northern Hemisphere, and October 18th, November 15th for the Southern Hemisphere, according to this oracle deck which I'm using. So the message of this card is more about connecting to your roots and connecting to the nature. This is about being steady and faithful, like an oak tree. You can sit by an oak tree even where you live, if you have them, and then maybe get some insights from the tree itself and from Mother Earth. This is time to feel grounded, to feel supported by your ancestors and also by your own groundness, and also to perhaps observe what's going around, that maybe around you there are lots of little small interesting things happening. So even if it's a solid tree, it's still full of life, whether it's on the tree or around the tree. So this represents some kind of mighty growth and regeneration and a potential to grow. So I would say it's a really good card if you had a specific person in mind for the love reading. This card would be an indicator of that. With time, something good can grow out of it. But again, guys, it's hard to predict anything because I don't know who you were thinking about, and so I just would encourage you more probably to look for these qualities inside you also, which can help you in love relationships in the next 12 months. Now the next card is related to the moon, and it's full moon in Virgo. Now, full moon in Virgo, it's a state when you're kind of at the maximum in a way of a certain type of skill, perfection, over closeness to nature probably, or maybe caring about your health. And here it's both a good time to think of what you have completed through this lunar cycle. What do you relate to? What is healthy for you? What is not healthy for you? Maybe change some kind of routines, because once you already tested something can work or not work for you. And maybe you can realize that in a relationship with your partner, you need to change something, because Virgo is connected to food as well, and nutrition, as well as some kind of relaxation techniques. And so this is a time to both enjoy your body and your health, and at the same time think of what is excessive. Maybe you're a perfectionist at something. Maybe you need to stop doing something because it's enough already. You've already done it enough in terms of, or perhaps you are taking too many vitamins. So here we have full moon in Virgo. You are good enough. And again, it's enough to try to strive for perfection and to improve something. Maybe you are serving other people a little bit too much, or if you don't, then maybe it's time to, it's already full moon, but still you can kind of think of what have I done this month to make something good for other people. Do I want to keep doing that, or I don't want to keep doing that? How does it make me feel? So that's how I would read this card. Now I'm choosing astrology cards, and I have here Sun in Libra in the 5th house. So this is a very nice energy. It's more about some kind of creativity and also shining in an elegant way in relationships and expressing something with your partner. Maybe you have some fun activity together where both of your inner children and also your core personality can shine, finding something creative with your partner, connecting to playfulness, to desire to explore, experiment, just for the sake of fun, no big things. Although it can actually be also true for some kind of ventures, like starting a business with your partner. If you already have a business, it can mean that you can be creative in your business and romantic life, to sort of combine those two things together, which can be fun for many people, especially if you're some kind of like influencer, or maybe an artist or something, even entrepreneurs as well. Perhaps you can come up with new ideas and how to make a beautiful business out of what you do. Or it can be simply being a good partner in sexual exploration as well as a romantic. So Libra wants to notice what the partner feels and what they feel. Sometimes they have difficulty kind of separating one from the other. Sun wants to shine, and here Sun in Libra, it's shining with your partner. And also fifth house is creativity, exploration, maybe even some kind of something which you cannot predict fully in the outcome, or even a journey, having a trip together, or some kind of startup business, as I mentioned. Yeah, so think of what you can find here. Of course, it can be also a partner who has this position, but also it can be related to your own chart. So if you have your chart, take a look at the chart. What is in the fifth house? What do you have in Libra? Which house rules the Libra? And where is Sun? Maybe you can find some kind of correlation there. Here is the message card for you also. Listen to yourself. Intuition will not let you down. This is a really good message, especially if we connect all the cards together, is that we have here so far a bit of energy of an explorer type, more like Sagittarius and Leo energy, fifth house, Libra as well. And also we have more stable, more earthy, and in some way more hesitant type of energy, right? And here, to combine it all together, listen to yourself and intuition will not let you down. Now for the animal card, I have here a frog. It's a very interesting image. I suggest that you first look at it and think of what do you see on that image? What emotions does it evoke? For example, what I saw at first on it, because I worked with this deck already before, it wasn't exactly how I saw it after I read the definition. Because they mention, for example, that frog is associated with feminine energy, creation, and fecundity. Fecundity is kind of like fertility, only it's more of a ability to be fertile, to conceive something. Frog in many cultures were worshipped in a way as a creature of water, and even in Egypt, by the way, it was placed on mummies to facilitate rebirth, which is a very interesting fact. In South America, it's a feminine symbol, and it's kind of like a lord of the water. Among Native American peoples of North America, the frog has been associated with the moon, which you can see perhaps on the picture. However, I see also some other things on the picture. I'm not sure about you. It's very interesting how it resonated. So it's a feminine symbol, and the story tells of a frog jumping into the moon where it rules for eternity. Now, you don't have to read the card like this. Just think of what the frog represents to you. And even though some people don't like this type of animals, I'm not sure if it's the right term, animals. If frogs are not very attractive to you, just look at the card and see what you like there, what you don't, and just read it from your own perspective. What can it possibly tell you? Now, this next card is a resource card for you, just as a message to you, a reminder. Always do your best, love and nurture your body. This is from the 4 Agreements deck, and the body is probably the most important to some extent in our life, because without the body you wouldn't be present here in this life, and it takes a lot of effort for the body to function well together. So I would suggest to really give some love to your body, and remember that also some seeds are planted in your mind, and when they grow you will love, honor and respect your body even more. So basically, the more you give love to yourself, the more you nourish your body in a good way, in a healthy way, the more it will respond to you and support you in certain moments when you really need it. The next card is also for a resource. I encourage you to look at it and think of what kind of resource I see here. What do I feel looking at this card? What makes me feel better on this card? And just use this element, ask guiding questions to yourself, and you can find answer, maybe some kind of prompt of what can make your love life better. So the next card I want to offer for you for personal borders. So what kind of message for you is for personal borders? And here is the card. Now look at this card and think, what do you feel? Who of the characters do you associate yourself with? What would they say to each other if they can speak? If you are not liking this card, which is quite common for metaphorical cards, it's okay. So just look at the element of it and ask yourself, is this relevant to me, like in terms of personal borders? So it's probably not by chance that this card popped up in this reading. It's trying to send you some message. It can resonate with you somehow if you just dive deeper into the card. You can look at certain elements of the card as well. And also the helping card will be охранять, that's to defend. So basically connect the meaning of this card, how you read it to yourself, with this specific word охранять. Also, you can look at this card as in terms of what archetypes does it represent. Do I have such an archetype in myself? When do I behave like that? Does it help to make the relationship better or not? Does it prevent me from finding love or not? And also the helping card will be охранять, that's to defend. So basically connect the meaning of this card, how you read it to yourself, with this specific word охранять. Also, you can look at this card as in terms of what archetypes does it represent. Do I have such an archetype in myself? When do I behave like that? Does it help to make the relationship better or not? Does it prevent me from finding love or not? Okay, and the next card is grow, растите in Russian. So that also tells you that you need to grow something. Now, what to grow, that's your answer. Take some notes, guys, and please share in the comments. I'd be really happy to read your comments. All right, and the last card of this series is a card for your inner child. Look at this card and think, how do these characters feel? Who do you relate yourself to? What kind of feeling do you get from this card? What kind of vibe? How does it make you feel? What is the cards telling to you? And if you were one of those characters, how would you feel? What would you tell to the other character? Okay. Now, if I combine this card also with a word card, the meaning can change a little bit, but you can still read both of them. So the word here is искать, to look for, to search for. What do you want or need to search for, to look for? So what are you looking for? What are you searching for? And remember that this was for your inner child. What does your inner child look for, searches for? Can you give your inner child this? Okay. So now I'm gonna take Astro Dice and we will look at what kind of energies and people can be present in the next 12 months in your love life. All right, so we have Saturn in Gemini in the 9th house. It's a very interesting combination because Saturn and Gemini are kind of a bit different energies. Gemini is very fast, Saturn likes to be slow. 9th house is opposite 3rd house, and which is Gemini energy. And so here we have someone who wants to be a professional, even in small skills, even in small things, even on daily basis. They also might be conservative about voicing their religious views or something related to spirituality, or they may be a little bit too stubborn or narrow-minded in terms of looking at the world. They might have their own perception of things, but not being willing to accept other people's right to have different thinking about certain things. I think this combination can also make someone being very articulate and clear in their speech with some effort, but they can learn that skill and sort of be in some way just to some things. Saturn can represent judging, and also ninth house is about fairness to some extent because it's related to Jupiter energy. But Jupiter and Saturn are not friends, they don't like each other. So basically this tells me about also being responsible for what you say, especially related to other cultures and people of other cultures. However, you can have discussion about that, but just be mindful how you voice it. That's in general for what I think might pop up in these months for you as well. So either someone who is somewhat strict on that side, or you can show your own judgments, or maybe you have to be careful with voicing what you know. It also can signify someone in a position where it's not the modern type of influencer, like more of a free-spirited one, but more of a someone in a responsible position, like even a royalty, you know. Some royalties have Saturn in the ninth house. And so here it's related to publicity and social media. Maybe you meet someone who is a bit more conservative with social media, or expresses their opinions quite in a very conservative, strict way to some extent. If we look at the first card, Knight of Wands, this also can signify that there might be some kind of contradiction between someone you meet who wants to be more serious about maybe long distance communication and traveling, and maybe not as willing to change places as often as the Knight of Wands wants, whether it's part of you or your partner. So basically I see a little bit of contradiction here in the whole reading, in terms of being torn between wanting to explore something in a more light and childlike way, being open to new things and being creative, and also some kind of more steady energy which we had in the Oak, which is a bit more family oriented and a robust energy. And also Virgo moon is pretty earthy, and also we had this Four of Swords, which is more of an internal kind of situation, I think, here. So yeah, so just take a look and see what resonates with you, and I hope you will share your impressions in the comments. Alright guys, remember that you can always change your fortune and fate if you want to some extent. Alright, good luck my dear friends, and now I'm moving to the second pack. Here's the second pack, and I have the crystal garnet. It's a dark black red garnet, which is associated usually with the first or third chakra. So let's take a look at the tarot cards first. Alright, so here is the Devil card and the Eight of Pentacles. Very interesting because they have completely different energies, as well as the first reading was. If you chose this deck, apparently you might be either now or in the recent past, or possibly within 12 months, facing some kind of dependency in a relationship. So that can either be a manipulative type of person who you meet, or maybe you try to manipulate with something in a relationship. That's usually not a good indication in general. And Devil card is one of the major arcana, and it shows also a certain type of stubbornness and persistence, and in imposing your way, so that, for example, you don't look at how partner wants to be loved, but you rather want to love them how you want to love them, if that makes sense to you. So even if it at all is about love here, because usually when Devil is present, it's more about ego, wanting something from a place of ego, wanting something from satisfying your own needs, whether it's sexual needs or some kind of strange way of satisfying security, or something which you need, perhaps even monetary dependence. So in some cases this could be mutual, so that the partners are playing those games because it kind of makes their blood hotter, so to speak. But in other cases, one might be not aware, more like in a victim position, and the other one might be more of a predator, whatever it's called. So usually in such cases, there could be a triangle of Karpman. If you don't know what it is, I will make a video later on that. But this is essentially about victim, persecutor, and predator. Sorry, I don't remember. In Russia, it's called жертва, спасатель, преследователь. Read about it, and maybe it will give you some ideas. I would say the message from this card is to stop and ask yourself, what is my attitude to love and being love, getting love and expressing love? Is it healthy? Am I in a healthy relationship or pattern or whatever? Or communication pattern or something like that. And the second card we have, Eight of Pentacles. This is more of an earthy energy, and this tells me about someone who is dedicated to their work, to perfecting their skills, and most likely you know what you are doing and you're kind of crafting your way up, so to speak, so that you are recognized as a professional. It might also indicate someone who is working a lot and doesn't have a lot of time for personal life just because they're so engaged in what they do in their craft that they don't have time for exploring something else. Also, these cards can show a choice between two types of personalities or potential partners. One is someone who is probably attractive, exciting, maybe sexy in some way, but they're also toxic, and then they put you out of your comfort zone. It might be rubbing against your fur, so to speak, or it might excite you and just kind of have you tied because of something that you gain from it. So here you can look at the secret gains also. And also you might have another option, someone who is very honest and kind of focused on their work. They might be less exciting, more plain, and maybe more boring to some extent. Maybe not as creative in some way to pull certain strings in you if you like that. But at the same time, they might be a better option for you. And also another interpretation could be is that if these are parts of you, if somehow actually I just don't feel like that reflects two parts of you. But let me know, guys, in the comments if you recognize them as both parts of you. I feel that this card's more about two different people or types of people or something like that. Kind of two different energies. I cannot put them together, to be honest, but maybe it's just me. So I'll leave it at that. Now the next cards are transformation and joy. Transformation is the energy that supports our ability to gracefully flow through times of transition, allowing the old to make room for the new. It's very beautifully put. Transformation also is related to a death card in tarot, only in a more dramatic way. But overall, it's something which ended or is about to end and going into something new, a new chapter, a new story, maybe a new type of relationship or a new phase of your relationship. And joy reminds you, of course, to have this ability to feel joy and to also allow yourself to have feelings of happiness and some kind of healthy excitement, to show you interest to something, and just overall to enjoy certain vibrations in your life, you know. When people feel joy, they are often quite attractive to other people because it's more of a positive, higher frequency energy. But it depends, of course, what kind of joy you feel, so I don't want to generalize here. All right, so next one is spirit. Spirit is moving in you and your wisdom and understanding. And that's something also to go back to the Devil card and maybe even the second card, which we had, the Eight of Pentacles, is that, which are very physical, material oriented cards. But spirit rather calls for you to connect to your guides, to some kind of higher self, and also spirit in terms of what do you do, not for the material gain and not for concrete gains, right? What is inspiring you? What kind of people resonate with you in terms of philosophy and your outlook at life, and maybe inspire you and help you grow to some extent. So yeah, look at the spirit side of life. And the next one is heather, mistletoe. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but that's how I pronounce. So this card corresponds to letters U and W. Maybe you meet someone who has the name starting with the letters U and W. So this card is a lot about healing, spiritual development, making contact with some kind of spiritual dimensions, about fertility and spiritual path. Very interesting how it corresponds to the previous card about spirit. It just happens sometimes in the readings. This kind of tree represents a link between our earthly plane and the spirit world. This card might prompt you about some kind of protection, energetic cleansing, and abundance and good luck. It's a very nice card. And also, if you are thinking about having children, considering that we had earlier those two tarot cards, I would say do it from a clear mind and body. From first you nourish your body and your spirit as well, and then in that sense it can help you to conceive in the right possible way. So if you're considering conceiving, for example, I would really take a look at the cleansing process and getting rid of certain ties which you have, which might be unhealthy to you, but rather focusing on decluttering life and on getting more into the non-egoistic state. Okay. Now let's take a look at the metaphorical cards. So we have here very interesting two cards. Look at them and read them yourself. Look at the card. What do you see on the card? Do you see yourself on the card? Could you be one of the characters? And what do you feel? What do you think? What other characters would tell you? What you tell other characters? If you're not familiar with how to work with metaphorical cards, I suggest you watch my playlist with videos about those cards, mock cards, and you'll understand the principle. We basically read them as you feel. Usually at the sessions, I would guide the client and help to dive deeper into a card. And if you want to take sessions, you're very welcome. I'll put a link in the description. I offer a special rate to subscribers to the channel, so you can book a session. Now, if we look at this card with a woman going down the stairs, ask yourself, where is she going? What is she going to find there? Is she going from somewhere she enjoyed being or into something she likes even more, or vice versa? So what is the difference between them? How do you see that? Why is she alone? Is there someone who is following her or could be with her? What is she feeling? What does she think? Okay, and now we have a moon card, and that's new moon in Virgo. Very interesting, because I just had in another reading full moon in Virgo. So new moon in Virgo, that's a great time to start adding something into your life related to your body, to relaxation procedures, and to something like meditation, maybe aromatherapy, alternative treatments. Research what is safe for you though, like say again, like if there is pregnancy in question, like make sure that it's safe for whatever you take, that it's allowed when you're pregnant. And also Virgo is a sign of perfectionism, as also it's connected to decluttering and organization, like organizing things at home or in the office. And so it's a good time to create some healthy, good routine for yourself and your body. And now a message for you. Clear your thoughts and speech from any anxiety, worries, and any negative emotions which prevent you from expressing the positive. This is a really wise message, and it kind of corresponds also to what I said earlier in terms of cleansing. that how we think really reflects what is happening in our life. And now I will choose 3 cards for a planet, sign, and house. So we have here Moon in Leo in the 10th house. A very potent position here. Moon in Leo is someone who needs attention. It's important for this person to connect to others, to have something creative with other people, and also to be recognized as a leader, someone creative. Moon is not very stable in terms of mood, and in the 10th house, it's kind of something about recognition. Also, probably, since it's not a work reading, but it's related to relationships, it's more of a wanting to be in the center of attention and recognized in a partnership. For example, 10th house is associated also with a marriage. 7th house as well, but 10th can relate to a spouse, to an official, something official recognized in society. So I think it shows the need to have a partner or whoever you are dating who would either bring you recognition in the society, kind of you will be more in the limelight, or you yourself need to shine and be able to express that even within the relationship, maybe even a marriage. So if we go back to the Devil card, I would say that if you are in this unhealthy relationship, you probably wouldn't, it would be hard for you, I think, to have stable moods in this position. I'm just saying intuitively, you know. So I would suggest to have it maybe as a filter. How do I feel with whoever I am dating or in a relationship? Do I feel more present and recognized, you know, like can I express myself creatively and responsibly in some way as well? And also probably it could be also something related to having a business with your partner, but here it would probably be something for the people, for some kind of service related to people. Okay. So now I will choose a card of an animal, and this is Kingfisher, which represents peace, abundance, love, which is very nice. In this deck, its interpretation is very interesting. It's related to a certain myth. It's a little bit sad, like some kind of a sad story, but it doesn't matter. I think in this case, it can show a woman who has capacity for being very devoted to her husband. Perhaps either it's you or you meet someone who is like that. So how I can read the card in the context is that even if there was some kind of loss in the past, there is a chance to be happy and to feel beautiful in the present and future. So you have a nature who can be devoted to something, and keep your passion and devotion and choose the right person to be able to express that. That's how I would read it, guys. But you can also look at the card and ask yourself question what kind of message this has for you. So the next card is be impeccable with your words, speak with integrity. Say only what you mean, avoid using the word to speak against yourself or to gossip around. Use the power of your word in the direction of truth and love. And this is really important in relationships, is that to stay, especially in the moment of transformation, to be able to stay true to what your nature is and also be honest in what you say and be caring to some extent, I think. I would say Moon in Leo and the 10th house might be a little bit on the directive side to some extent. But at the same time, you can, speaking more from the bossy position, if that makes sense. But at the same time, take a step back maybe if you feel that, and look at your partner, what they feel and how they're taking it. That's what I see here. But you can read it differently. Now here we have also a resource card for you guys. And this is, look at the metaphorical cards and ask yourself, what do I see here? What emotion does it evoke? Does it remind me something? Have I felt like this recently or in general? And what this person feels what kind of resource. Remember that it's not the diagnostics, it's for a resource. What is bright and positive here on this card for you? And if this woman can speak, what would she tell you? Now the next card is for personal borders, so it's an advice what you should do. Here is the card, and where are these people? What do they do? Why did they meet together? Who you see? Where would you be on this card? And it can signify different things to different people, or whatever you see here, okay? I'll leave it up to you. And then the next card is Преграда, obstacle. So basically, if we connect those cards, and also I have another card, Прислушивайтесь, listen to. Think of them together. So is there any obstacle? What kind of obstacle are you facing? Is this that you want to some kind of agreement or marriage or, I don't know, property or something, and it doesn't happen? Or is it a divorce? Or it depends what you're looking for and what you're going through when you're listening to this video. So listen to whom? So here, listen to yourself, or to your partner, or maybe to someone who is an advisor. Share in the comments what your impressions are from here, from this. Now the next card is for your inner child. Look at this card, and where do you see yourself here? What does the child want? What would you offer to this child? What they would offer to you. And if we combine it with a word card as well, here it's восхищать, admire. And that means that you can admire someone, or maybe your inner child can admire someone. Okay? Now I'm going to take Astro Dice, and we will take a look at what kind of people and energies can be present in the next 12 months in your love life. All right, so it's Saturn in Virgo in the 6th house. Interesting, we had Saturn before as well. So, okay, so 6th house and Virgo are kind of similar type of energy and significations. So Saturn also has those, how to say, detail-oriented qualities to some extent. But basically, you might meet someone who is quite realistic about what they do for other people, and maybe they have a very clear, stable job, or they might also have some kind of routinous job. They might feel very serious and responsible about it, but they can also feel stagnated in that job. Or they are in a responsible position, but they are kind of in the background. They don't necessarily look for being in the limelight, like say Leo, Moon, and 10th house would be, but they are more like doing their craft, doing their work, making sure they're professional and serving other people. And also not maybe expecting things to be big right away, but doing small steps and growing step by step. Also, it signifies maturity, and maybe it's an older person as well, and someone who might seem a little bit dry on the daily basis, so that perhaps if, say, you have a partner or you are dating someone, and then they're very particular about certain routine tasks around the house or in the office, or I mean, you're not dating in the office probably, but say in the household, you might have to match that person to some extent, or maybe find a common ground. And in terms of balancing the routinous and perfectionistic side with something which is a bit more easygoing, you know. So it's just I see some kind of responsibilities here, maybe limitations to some extent, but at the same time this person would most likely be a reliable person. Let me know, guys, in the comments what is your overall feel of this particular pack, whether you chose it or not. To me, there is definitely some kind of desire to break free from something in terms of certain unhealthy patterns, and at the same time do your craft and enjoy certain things more in a healthier way. That's just what I feel here. So here is your reading, guys. Let me know in the comments how it was for you and what insights you've got. And I am gonna move on to the next one. Alright guys, let's move to the third pack. So this is a pack with bloodstone, crystal, and I want to remind you guys that you are not predetermined with what I'm saying. You have free will and you can shape and create your life. It really depends where you are. I don't know what you're going through. Just take whatever you can from this, some kind of insights, and apply it wisely. If it doesn't resonate with you, you can always choose another deck. So what I see here in the first cards is the Page of Wands and the Ace of Wands. Interesting that it's the same suit. So Page of Wands is the energy which is kind of mischievous. It's quite youthful and joyful and light-minded to some extent. And say if you are or want to be in a committed relationship, I would say that this more indicates that it's time to loosen up, it's time to experiment and try something new, maybe even without being attached to the outcome as much, not expecting anything serious like a stamp in the passport and something like that. I don't know what the rest of the reading will be, but so far the starting cards are about excitement and some kind of new endeavor. Ace of Wands also can indicate some kind of sexuality, as well as actually the Page of Wands. Maybe it's acting on some inspirational ideas, or perhaps you can find a solution to some kind of problem, whether you are in a relationship or looking for a partner. Pretty much it's about passion and excitement, and also fulfilling your desires, if you can say, if you have something like that. Page of Wands can also represent a person who is more of a one-night stand type of person, whether you want to explore something like that, no judgment here, or maybe you will meet someone or have some opportunities like that, and it's up to you how to go with this. So together with Ace of Wands, it kind of indicates that it might be a good experience, but you know, it's not like a marriage type of thing. Also, it can represent your own personality, your own desires. I would say that these two cards, they do not clash with each other, they more like complement each other. Now the next cards are Transparency and Sensuality. The energy of transparency supports our expansion towards a high vibrational state of being with more insight, honesty, and clarity. To be intimate with someone and also to express your own sexuality, sensuality, it's important, I think, to be transparent as well in many cases. If you're looking for an authentic love, if you are, in general, transparency helps you to be a better communicator and maybe be more intuitive as well, and go into this higher state of being, higher vibrations, and that could help your partner respond with their own integrity and transparency as well. Sensuality also corresponds a lot to these first cards which we had from Tarot deck, and it's a reminder that we perceive the world in a sensual manner as well, and it's important to connect to your senses and to experience some joy and sensuality and pleasure from both physical world and also maybe even pleasure from some kind of art type of things and something like that. Now the next card is Mythic. Myths and stories help you understand your life. The truth is in the myth. You can take a look at the card and you can maybe relate to a certain picture on that card and find a myth about this specific image. Apart from Greek myths and things like that, I would also recommend you to look at the book Running with the Wolves by Clarissa Estes, because I think she has very interesting stories there. And even Grimm's brothers, I guess, or Brothers of Grimm, I'm not sure. In Russian we call it Bratya Grimm. They can also have some kind of tales which might give you some prompts, so that could be an interesting way to connect to some archetypal energies as well. Now I'm going to show you 2 metaphorical cards, and again, like to remind how to work with them, you read them as you feel right now in this moment. Tomorrow you might feel different and you might read them differently, but I suggest to take some notes, maybe how do you interpret them today, and compare it how you will interpret them in a few months, for it can be an interesting exercise. Some of these cards can evoke quite strong emotions, whether positive or negative, so it's okay if you don't like the card. Just ask yourself, what especially I don't like, why do I feel this, what I feel. Ask yourself what I don't like here and what I like here. What do I feel, what character I would be on the card. And so maybe it can give you some kind of prompts about what might be in your life. Also, what can happen is that maybe within these 12 months you can experience something and have a certain question, and you can go back to this reading and look at these cards and recognize, do they reflect what I am going through now? Because maybe now it makes no sense to you, but maybe later will. Okay, so I'll leave you at that. You can also change the cards in place in your mind and think, does it change the story if they are positioned in a different way? That can also be quite interesting to notice. Okay, so the next card is the Tree card, and it's O Firs Gorse. O Own Firs Gorse. Sorry guys, I'm not sure how to pronounce this at all, so I'll just trust the description. I'm still learning this deck. So this kind of card is about fulfillment and abundance. It's about sweetness, hope, persistence, links to the inner and outer worlds, gathering together what you need to ensure progress. So if you have never seen this tree, actually last year, for the first time I had a chance to smell this tree. It was amazing. I kind of call it the prettiest ever tree, but for myself. But the smell is just divine. It corresponds to the letter O. Also, some people might associate it with honeybee, and it's about fulfillment and abundance, about sweetness, hope, persistence, and also it's kind of like a link between the inner and outer worlds. Also, it can signify gathering together what you need to ensure progress. In a way, I think it corresponds to sensuality card to some extent here. And the day before the spring equinox is often called the day of the gorse. So this card has spring energy. The message here is a reminder for you that you are evergreen and everlasting, and that you can bloom and you can share abundance and gifts with the world. Also, once you find this link between the inner and outer world, you can also feel more joy and more fulfillment. Also, you can ask yourself, do you need support, love, and encouragement? Or maybe you want to offer this to someone. Do you need any physical help? So think about this, and you can also use it as a color therapy, just looking at the card and reading what you feel, what does it remind you, or as a metaphorical card as well. This card can also signify youthfulness, and whether you're a woman or a man, doesn't matter. You can kind of return to innocence, and once you feel sweet, so to speak, you don't need a lot of sugar for that. You are sweet yourself, and then you can attract some kind of sweet things into your life. The next card is the Moon card, and it's New Moon in Leo. Very interesting. Confidence is your key to success. So New Moon in Leo is also a time to nourish your ego in a good way. What I mean by that is that it's okay to give attention to yourself. It's okay to shine among other people. It's okay to also give compliments to other people, to be generous. And this is a time for self-expression, for connecting with other people in a creative way, maybe also developing something creative and living life to the fullest. It might not be right away, but once the moon grows, you might feel it more and more. And also, I would also recommend to check when the moon is in Leo in the year when you're listening to the recording. For example, in 2021, it is in a certain month, and then I'll put the link in the description so that you can check the year and find where the moon is in Leo in that year, and that moon can be important for you. And another message is leave your past behind, go forward, move forward. So this is really important in life, to not to get stagnated and to be able to shift from one part of life to another, from one phase to another, not always looking back, what is there. So maybe you have something in the past which kind of makes you look back and go back. Maybe you compare your current partner or a candidate into a love partner with someone else. And here it's a reminder for you to not to look back too much and allow yourself to live in the now and experience what is the opportunities which current day presents, rather than always searching for something in the past. And the astrology cards for this pack is here we have Pluto as an astrology card, and also I'll choose two more, the sign and the house, Pluto and Gemini in the 4th house. Now Pluto moves very slowly, so no one of us who is now alive knows how Pluto in Gemini feels, because it takes a long time to go from one sign to another. I will just read it as if, for example, Pluto is in the 4th house or a Gemini is on the 4th house cusp. So like if to connect it all together, it's more about having deep conversations at home, with your relatives, with your siblings, maybe with your friends and colleagues as well. They can be a little bit dramatic and maybe life transforming to some extent, hopefully not too dramatic, but overall it's not a time for chatting in terms of just for the sake of gossiping or news or whatever. Doesn't matter what it's related to, but it's more about opening up on a deeper level and feeling secure and allowing yourself to get transformed. You remember we also had the transparency card here as well, and I think this can also correspond to these cards. Is about being able to express something in an authentic and genuine way. Also not to be afraid to be intense sometimes, but in maybe doing it in a lighter way, like Gemini can do it, right? Talking doing some kind of public speaking about Plutonian topics from your home, whether you have a podcast or something like that. So if we connect these 3 cards to a love reading, I would say that Pluto, Gemini and 4th house, if to connect it all, it's about talking deep stuff at home, probably transforming your home and transforming your communication, whether it's communication patterns or maybe tapping into subconscious to see how do you connect to other people, especially to your close circle, to your family and to your relatives, colleagues, friends. How do you express your needs? What do you like? Do you demand it, and being kind of dramatic about it, black and white about certain things, or are you more flexible, like the Gemini is a mutable sign and it is skillful in some kind of talks and negotiations. So this would say that you kind of have to navigate waters which are quite different, and sometimes you might want to go to be deeper, and sometimes you might want to be a little bit more on a lighter side to make things smooth out a little bit. Okay, so that's how I read it. What I would also add is that maybe, I don't know why it popped up to my head, but I think is that also maybe not everything you feel and think in your mind and it has to surface, maybe some things need to stay a little bit deeper until they're processed enough to be voiced to your partner or in your love life anyhow. Now also we have the other cards. Let's see, let's move on. We have a frog card again. We had it in the first reading. And the frog is associated with fertility, with feminine energy and fecundity. So fecundity, for those who don't know, it's kind of like fertility, but only not in the amount of kids, but more where the ability to be fertile, to conceive. And in some myths, frogs are associated with a lord of water or something that is related to the moon. Ancient people, they did show respect to frogs, probably unlike contemporary people. Look at the card and read from what you see. Also, as a metaphorical card, you can take a look. Do you like it, or does it bother you? Why, and what can be done about it? So there's kind of a message in case you are trying to conceive, because our moon in Leo also is related to kids and some kind of creative energy, birth of something. And Pluto in the 4th house, Gemini's kids. Gemini is related to Mercury. Mercury is kids. Pluto is conceiving. 4th house is also wombs. This whole reading is, you see, like there is some kind of sensuality here, and also exploration, and maybe conceiving something, whether it's an idea, a project, or a child. I would say it's a positive, I cannot say for sure for each person because I don't know what you're going through in life, but I think it can be a positive indication of maybe if you have the right circumstances to even have a child. Now the next cards are kind of resourceful cards, and with a message: don't take anything personally. Your truth is personal to you. And this is about that your own opinions and point of view reflect your own agreements and are personal to you. It is no one's truth but yours. This tells also, kind of gets us back to the astrology cards here, is that not everything has to be voiced and imposed on other people. There can be truth which is true to you, right? Because Pluto is a lot about truth as well. Gemini is about voicing. 4th house is about doing it at home, or how secure you are with that, or sense of security, how comfortable you are voicing something deep. And here it indicates that not everyone has to agree with you, right? So just relate to your truth, right? And that can be your truth. Now the next card is a metaphorical card. It's kind of like a resource card for you. A very interesting card. Reminds me of a hangman, but it's a different situation here. So look at the card and see, like, is this person enjoying what he is doing? Is he having fun or not? And what would you do in this situation? So what kind of resource could be for you here? Okay, so maybe you are in some kind of suspended or experimental position, and then you are not able to relax, or vice versa, you're too relaxed, but then it can become a bit dangerous. So maybe it can tell you that it's just time to have some fun, and do something unexpected and do something different. So I'll leave the interpretation up to you here. So what you see, please share in the comments. It's always fun to read. So the next card is for personal borders. And here is the message for you. What do you see on the card? Where you are there? Are you one of the characters, or are you an observer? What do these people feel? Okay, what would they say to each other? And how can it be related to your love life? Again, this is more of an advice for you for personal borders, so you just read from this perspective. And now I have the card also, freedom, svoboda. Okay, freedom from what? What kind of freedom? And the other card is ask. That means like more like ask questions. Спрашивайте. Okay, so maybe there is some kind of conversation needed here. It's, again, Gemini energy here. And now the last card is for your inner child. And here is a card. Take a look and How does this child feel? What would they tell you? What do they need? Are they happy? How can you help them? And if we connect it to the word card, you can also see заявлять. That means declare, kind of tell someone what you want or something like that, or maybe about something. So how does it relate to your inner child? What are they declaring to you, or you are declaring to them? And here is my astro dice, and let's see what kind of people might be significant in you in the next 12 months in love life. Either it's a potential partner, or maybe someone you're already with, or someone influencing your love life. And here we have Neptune in Scorpio in the 10th house. Very interesting combination. Neptune in Scorpio, it's been a while when it was there. Some of you who are listening to this reading might have actually Neptune in Scorpio in the 10th house. Go ahead in your chart and check. I'm curious if you have. Basically, it's 10th house is related to career, but here it's a love reading. It's more about spouse, I guess. Who can be my potential spouse? This can signify someone who might be in a career related to certain Neptunian activities or Scorpio activities, which can be healing or like doctor, maybe a surgeon, or some kind of either intuitive person, very intuitive person, or someone like a healer type of person, and very deep into that. They can also be someone who is like an influencer type of person. And they can be also someone who is confused in life. So someone who maybe lost direction and diving into certain things which they cannot fully handle yet. They cannot grasp the bigger picture of that. They are lost in that space, but at the same time, it doesn't mean that they lost the sense of direction. Maybe intuitively they feel where they're going, but people kind of look at them and think that they lost track of life to some extent. Neptune in Scorpio is someone also who was born between October 1956 and November 1970, something like that. So if you have this position, or if someone you meet has this position, so it might also relate to that. It can also, I have to say though, guys, can signify someone who has certain types of addictions. Also, it can be someone who has a certain loss. They might have lost someone. I'm sorry to say that, but I feel like this can also relate to, guys, it doesn't have to be necessarily your life, but I'm just going to voice it. It can be someone who has lost a person, probably like within recent times. Or maybe they've lost a long time ago, but still are coming over it. So let's say they were deeply connected to that person, but they're recovering from it. Or they help other people to recover from something like that. Again, it doesn't have to all correspond to your personal life, but say it can be someone like that. Also, you can Google for what Neptune in Scorpio in 10th house represents, and you can get some more ideas. Now, Neptune in 10th house also is a person who can be a glamorous person, but also can be focused on some kind of volunteer work. So that's just some ideas for you. But in general, it's a very creative, deep position. Now, interestingly, also Scorpio is a very focused sign. 10th house is a very focused energy, and Neptune is the most diffused type of energy possible, right? So here we also have kind of contradictions. Actually, I just thought about that it can also indicate some kind of tantric things. Or Neptune in Scorpio is a tantric position, and if it's in the 10th house, it can be a person who has certain type of tantric work. I don't know how many tantric workers in the world, but I'm just saying. Or maybe like hardcore, like alternative musician or something like that, or artist. Alright guys, here is my reading. I hope you enjoyed it. Share in the comments, like this video or subscribe to the channel. Share in your comments your impressions, and I hope you'll tune in into another video. Moving to the next pack. If you chose those cards, here is your reading. The crystal is Moonstone. And I want to remind you that you have free will, and if you don't like this reading, if you don't resonate with it at all, you are free to choose something else. This reading is done for entertainment and self-development. It doesn't define your fortune anyhow. You can always try to shift your life in the direction you want. It's just some prompts from subconscious and some kind of collective field for you to maybe consider and apply them in your life to some extent. Also, since it's for the 12 months ahead, maybe later you can come back to it, re-listen, and some cards would make more sense to you, okay? Alright, the first cards which I have here from the tarot deck, 5 of Swords and 9 of Wands. And these two cards indicate in general more like the current situation or recent past. They can also relate to a certain starting point in your relationship or whatever you're going through. 5 of Swords might indicate someone who is coming out a certain type of competition or contest, whether it's more verbalized, active, or it is kind of like a hidden type of competition going on. It can be with your ex or with some people around you. Maybe you in general are going through a phase of life which is more of a positioning yourself either as a winner and you want to defeat others, or someone who feels defeated. Take a look at the card and see what figure you associate yourself more to. Today, maybe in a month you will feel different, but right now, today. Why is it important for you to hold those swords in your hands? You know, what do they represent to you? You can also think of, do I have a certain battle in my life? Maybe am I the type of person who is looking for a way to feel my strength through defeating someone. Relationships are not a competition, and so usually, unless you're really a type of person who needs that energy and arguments and kind of put someone down, it can indicate that, especially with Moonstone, like it's so different from Moonstone, it can indicate that maybe it's time to put down your swords, you know, and maybe take a look at the other person from a position of equals rather than trying to find some kind of competition, like trying to win. 9 of Wands, on the other hand, shows a position of self-defense, like you are probably still in your fears and you might not be willing to go into a relationship, or maybe you feel like a bit stagnated and trapped in a relationship just because you have certain fears and you are afraid to be hurt, you are afraid to be let down in some way. Maybe you are the one who is coming from this 5 of Swords defeat, you know. You kind of feel more vulnerable than this winner type of figure here. So this can also signify certain people in your life who could have such an attitude. It could be about you or it could be about them. But essentially what it teaches, I think, here is to disarm yourself to some extent and rather regain your inner strength and take a look at things as if someone is friendly. Because if you're expecting someone to attack you, or you feel the need to attack someone because it doesn't feel safe, secure to you, you feel that you are not free to be yourself with a specific person, then I don't think it's a good beginning for a relationship altogether. If you are already in such a relationship, it's probably time to really think about it. Is this the right person for me? Am I the right person for them? You know, is this the communication which we want to develop? But in general, it still comes back to a certain type of self-awareness and estimating what is healthy for you, what's not. Now we have also cards of connection and friendship. So connection, something which helps us to find a certain type of alignment and resonate with other people. maybe even things and ideas as well. But in terms of love, it's just kind of being on the same wave, whether you're sort of dancing for your relationship, and sometimes it requires some adjustments, you know, to feel the other person, to maybe stop being on guard for a second if it feels safe for you. And friendship is really necessary in love, I think, because when you offer your support to someone, and when you can rely on someone's support or maybe understanding in conversations, and coming to mutual grounds, to affection, appreciation, to be able to safely share something with each other without counting on certain benefits. Okay? Of course, we all get some kind of benefits for friendships and connection as well, but I'm saying that it's still a lot about doing something from the heart, approaching relationship from your heart. Now we have also a card, Angels. That's a labyrinth card. Angels are all around you. Connect with them and work with them. Again, connection is here, and what it encourages you is to maybe ask for some help. So I'm personally not experienced with connecting with angels. I'm just tapping into that idea. But if to believe that there are some kind of helping guides, why not just try to ask them? Not out of greediness or not even out of some kind of despair, but just try to feel them, to connect whatever angelic spirits you believe in or willing to try and connect to. You can speak to them, and maybe they can show you the right way and help to get some insights. Here also you can see metaphorical cards, and I offer here a few metaphorical cards, and it's you who will interpret them. I will not offer my interpretation for these cards because they are meant to be answered by the client and whoever is listening to this video. So take a look at the cards and just maybe choose 2-3 words how to describe each card. What does it represent to you? Do you see yourself in any of the character or object of the card? Maybe an overall feel, how do you feel them? And what kind of message they have for you. Maybe the characters on the cards can tell you something. So try to relate them. And also I suggest you to connect them both together and see, like, does the meaning change when they are both together? Or is it about some different things? Now the next card is a tree card, and it's called Hazel. Called Hazel corresponds to letters C and K. Maybe you can meet someone who has a name starting from C and K. And also it's about summer solstice time, and it's more of a summer period of time. This book for some reason doesn't have all the periods for each tree, but for this one it's June 13th, July 10th, and for Northern Hemisphere, December 13th, January 10th. This card is about water energy, the moon, the bounty and abundance. It's about intuition, wisdom, insight, and also knowledge, some sage advice, divination, poetry, creative pursuits, higher perspective, and clarity. So this is very much more of a moon-related card. Also, moon has cycles, right? So you can ask yourself, like, what kind of cycle I am in now? And since it's connected to intuition, this card can prompt you to connect to your own intuition, and maybe there's some nurturing required as well. Do you feel you need nurture to be nurtured, or you want to nurture someone? It's about also motherhood. I don't know if you have children or maybe you plan children, but that's a good card to connect to in that respect. Also, I think this card shows that it's important not to criticize others too much, and in case you have that in a relationship, that's more of a reminder to look at the other person and yourself with compassion, with some kind of care and nurturing, from the perspective of how to say, not necessarily like as if someone is weaker than you and they need support, but more over this intuitive feeling of someone, in some way romantic as well, but like watery, insightful connection. This is also about inner wisdom, and maybe your heart is telling you something. support yourself and others, and you can be a guide to yourself and whoever you connect in love with. So next card we have a moon card, and it's a new moon in Cancer. Very interesting how it comes after this moon related card. So new moon in Cancer also is about the energy of motherhood, of nurturing of your inner child, which is related to, inner child is both sun and moon, and the moon is more like what your needs are. Moon in Cancer is also, of course, about family, and maybe you're starting a new cycle in love, whether related to your own children, or maybe the nurturing side of you. I don't know if you are planning a move or something, but technically new moon in Cancer also can signify a certain type of move, like whether inside or outside. And I mean, whether moving something inside you or moving to another place. And of course, it's an emotional position, and it's not the time to rationalize everything. It's more of a time to intuitively connect to yourself and others. It's time to attain to your needs and to find security inside you and at home. Maybe you can take a look at the next months and see when new moon will be in Cancer, and note for yourself that period of time. Perhaps you can meet someone. It can be moon in Cancer person, or maybe you have moon in Cancer, I don't know, but somehow that cycle could be important for you, that type of lunation. Maybe also you can meet someone who is, I guess you might feel home-like, more like stay at home, cooking, and feeling cozy, with someone, growing something together. Okay, the message card for you is only heavens know the decision. You just have to ask for help and follow what is given, suggested from above. This is a very interesting message also relating to the intuitive moon cards, and also even angels, right? Reminding you that even if not all the answers are in you, you can find them through some external help as well. If you don't believe in God, that's totally fine. You can just try to connect to your higher self. And if you're in any position which requires a decision, you can ask yourself, what would my best possible self, what would my higher self do in this situation? All right. Now we will take a look at the astrology cards, and this will relate to you as well as possibly some kind of energies of the love situation for the next 12 months. And what we see here is Neptune in Gemini in the 7th house. Very interesting position, I would say. Quite a creative position. Neptune in 7th house, if you have it natally, or if Neptune is transiting your 7th house, could be relating to someone who is creative in nature and maybe very unusual as a person, kind of an alternative type of person, but not necessarily in a radical way. Society still can accept that. It's just more where something out of the box, something getting you to another level, but at the same time it can also bring some kind of delusions. We haven't had this position, guys, for a long time. No one of us who is listening to this video most likely has Neptune in Gemini, because it's been a long time ago, and it will be in the future years. I don't know if all of us will live up to that, to be honest, because Neptune has very long transits, like 13-14 years. So it's probably, let me calculate, like at least maybe in 30-35 years it will enter Gemini. Let me check actually. Neptune will go into Gemini, if I'm not mistaken, in 2051 in the summer. So maybe some of us will witness that, how it will play out. Some people might have a transit like that. Basically, what we can tell from these three different energies combined together is that on the one hand, it's a very creative position, maybe reaching out some kind of transcendental states through conversations or any poetry, writing, whether you're with your partner in your friendships. And also it's about some kind of delusions. Maybe you have slightly distorted perception of what is going on in your relationship, or even in your own mind, in your own world. So this has both potential for immense growth in terms of self-development, connecting to higher realms, maybe even this 5D reality, whatever. So, but also it can indicate some kind of caution about, do I trust my partner? Does my partner trust me? Do they deserve trust? Do I trust myself? It's about, is my partnership the way I imagine it? Because what you think it is might not be necessarily what there is there. So maybe also it indicates some creative process with the partner, with their loved person, one-on-one relationships, most likely. Although, could be twins, I guess. Guys, I'm a little bit tired because my voices are a little bit down now. So I think it also can be getting to higher states of mind, and maybe even body, but especially mind, through a partnership, right? So you kind of leave certain stories in your head. This is also telling interesting stories with your partner. So maybe you'll share some kind of certain experiences with each other, metaphysical type of stories, or maybe transcendental or certain out of the world experiences, and that can help you unite. I don't know, or not. All right, so but it's definitely time to be creative. So now also we have an animal card, and that's bear. Healing, divinity, invulnerability. Now, bear has been a symbol of many nations. Different people around the world respect bear a lot. And it's been a symbol of also motherhood and some kind of protective power. And I would say that you can also take a look at the card, and you see it's a very intricate design here, and you can find some elements which speak to you, which you notice more, and see, what do I see on this card? What do I like? What does it tell me? Maybe you'll get some more prompts from it. Now, another card which we have here is be impeccable with your word. Enjoy heaven on earth. Like when you speak from your heart, something true to you, some kind of insights you've got, then you can relate to the partner in a better way, probably. But don't just make up stories, for the sake of impressing others. I don't think both of the previous cards and this card would be okay for just making up something. It's probably inevitable that you are going to embellish. You might meet someone who embellishes things, but whether you like it or not, it's another story. Now, this next card is a resource card for you. I encourage you to look at it and ask yourself, what do I see here? What emotion does it evoke? Does it remind me something? Have I felt like this recently or in general? And what this person feels? What is bright and positive here on this card for you? Think of what kind of resource I see here. What do I feel looking at this card? What makes me feel better on this card? And just use this element, ask guiding questions to yourself, and you can answer maybe some kind of prompt of what can make your love life better. I don't know if you noticed, I am probably not supposed to tell you as a practitioner of metaphorical cards, but there are some maps here, and where the figure on the card is going to, it's kind of more where I guess Brazil is related, or maybe Argentina a little bit, probably Brazil more, Latin America. And the figure is putting a star to Latin America, to the South America. So I don't know if you're reaching for someone from that area, or someone is reaching to you. But you can also just take a look at the cards and see what kind of resource it has for me here. The next card is for personal borders. This is usually more like a challenge and solution card. I'll also show you 2 word cards after. Take a look at this card and think what is going on here with the personal borders. What do those people do? Are they supporting each other, or are they fighting with each other? What kind of activity are they involved in? What would they say to each other if they can speak? Do you recognize yourself here? Where you are on the card if you were one of the characters? Are you part of this action or are you an observer? What does it tell you, about personal borders? It's kind of like a reminder. What would be a healthy way to relate between those characters? And you might see and read the card in a different way today and later when you re-listen to this video, re-watch this video. And the words for this are охранять, protect, and the second card is fill yourself with something. And I guess it's more where nourish yourself in terms of fill yourself with something good, right? So what is the good that you want to fill yourself with, especially related to personal borders and love relationships? And now the card for your inner child. Take a look at the card. What does this inner child want? How do they feel? What makes them feel better? If you name the card with 1 or 2 words, how would you name them? Do share in the comments your impressions, what you get here as well. And if we combine with the word, it's to hope for something. If you read it now with the word, what is your inner child hoping for? Can you offer it to her or him? I really love this deck, so I hope you enjoyed it. Alright guys, and now we'll move on to the astrology dice. And for this reading we have Jupiter in Cancer in the 6th house. This is a very interesting position. Also we have Cancer as we had it before, and a few cards. I see the energy of Moon here on a few cards. You see on the metaphorical card and also in the tree card, and New Moon in Cancer and some other things. And here now we have Jupiter in Cancer in the 6th house. Now this astrological dice combination is about someone who you might meet in your life, and also it can be related to a certain type of communication with your love partners. So Jupiter in Cancer in the 6th house, it's kind of like a position when you might enjoy doing small things at home, in some kind of routine, and also helping others. Jupiter in Cancer is strong and it's an exaltation. Jupiter in 6th house, maybe not the most natural position for Jupiter, but it will be generous here. It's about hospitality, enjoying serving others. Maybe you can meet someone who cheers others up, or you can cheer other people up, and also maybe you can enjoy some kind of household tasks and create certain type of routines which are more uplifting. Also, this could be a person who can be overdoing things with other people, like for example, maybe getting out of their skin and comfort zone for the sake of helping others, and also feeling drained by that. But I think it can be balanced with some healthy routines, and this can also be someone who is busy with kids just because they require a lot of work on a daily basis, and yeah, so something like that. Or maybe someone who works with domestic matters, or maybe in a hospitality type of thing, maybe in a restaurant or something like that. That's their daily job. Alright guys, this is the end of this reading. I hope you enjoyed it. Please share your impressions. Do support this channel, like, subscribe and comment. And I'm gonna move on to the last reading, 5th pack. Alright dear friends, here we have pack number 5, and we have Tiger Eye as the crystal here, which kind of tells me that it might be a little bit more of the masculine side here. Okay, so the first cards which I have here from a tarot deck are the Death card. It's a major arcana card. Don't be alarmed right away, I'll speak about it later. And also Ace of Pentacles. Well, the death card is one of the cards which people are kind of scared to have in a reading. However, it doesn't mean a literal death of someone. I hope it doesn't happen to any one of you in your life. But what it means is that possibly something is gonna change in your life, like going to either out of your life, or that's like closing a certain chapter, whether it's a relationship or maybe some imaginary relationship which you had with someone. Maybe you were in love with someone and then it's time to let it go. Or maybe your personality can change in some way due to certain circumstances, and it can affect your love life as well and your relationship with your love partner. So it can be like a part of personality. Take a look at the card and see what figure on the card you relate most to. Who do you see yourself? What character on the card or object on the card resonates with you more? It doesn't necessarily have to be main characters. It can be just a small thing on the card. So I'm reading it more from metaphorical cards perspective, and I encourage you to do the same. Death pretty much indicates that it's time to move on. It's time to create space for something new in life, whether you are decluttering your home or maybe decluttering your mind, or maybe your emotional state. Maybe you went to some therapy sessions. If you haven't, it's a good indication for you to go also to work through some stuff in therapy, because that will help you to let go of certain blockages in you, certain patterns which are already outdated. And by the way, you can book a session with me as well. I work with a few methods in therapy. Now, the second card, Ace of Pentacles, on the contrary, it indicates some kind of good direction, a good start, a certain positive, prosperous, abundant beginning. Maybe it's time to sow certain seeds so that you can harvest them later, whether it's in your garden or in your love garden, so to speak. Also, it shows that you are ready to go to this new phase, and also to put some effort into growing something. Also, this is a very materialistic card in a way. I would say that it's not so much about fantasizing about something new, but rather having a solid plan for whatever project or maybe strategy which you have around relationship or finding a partner. So let's say if you're coming out of a relationship in this death card energy, so maybe it's time already not to look in the past as much, but rather let it go, open the new door, and open your heart to a new person. If you are in a relationship and you are in a happy relationship, that's a very interesting situation here. I see it more probably as something in your life can change within these 12 months. Perhaps you might need to let go of something which would affect love life as well. And as we see here, the second card is very positive, and so it doesn't necessarily have to be painful. It's just accepting the change, whether inside or outside, in yourself and in your relationship. Look at this from this perspective, okay? Now we have also cards here, attraction and surrender, which is very interesting how they popped up here. The energy of attraction amplifies the quality that attract and support us on our journey toward inner balance and harmony. We use the word attraction a lot in terms of attracting the reality which you want, or attraction between people. And here it's also a reminder that what you are trying to attract, what you are focusing on, also like how yourself you are feeling, would possibly attract that in your life. If you are in harmony with yourself, if you feel balanced, there's a higher chance to attract something positive. Also, surrender here reminds to let go of some kind of control, maybe even illusionary control, and yield to the flow of love and life, so that you let those new things appear in your life. And then by things, I don't mean material things, I mean experiences and something which could be a positive change in your life. So perhaps if related to the death card, for example, perhaps you are holding on a little bit too much to what you're not willing to let go of, but sometimes there's no way back, right? So you You just have to find a healthy way to go through this transition with a positive intention and attitude. So the next card is break free. Move away from situations that are not nurturing you. Very interesting how these cards drawn blindly, they kind of speak to each other in an invisible way. This card also supports this first card of death and also surrender. So reminding with the archetype of butterfly, and also there's an axe here. I'm not familiar with the axe, but in general it's basically, I guess in some way you can say cutting off. I have to say though, I'm not a big fan of the rituals of cutting cords off, because I think that it might not be enough to heal, so it has to be used mindfully. If you're interested, guys, let me know. I can do a video of something which I use, I created a technique for letting go of some kind of attachments. So look at the card as well. What do you see on the card? What do you like on the card? And maybe it will give you some more prompts. Now the next cards are metaphorical cards, and these cards, and there will be another card later, I'm not going to read for you, so you will just interpret them yourself. So if you take a look at the first card, what do you see there? What kind of state, condition, emotion reflects it? Do you see yourself as a participator of something going on the card, or are you an observer? Like, is this relevant to your life? And of course we can dive deeper in a one-on-one session and work with those cards. There's always some extra thing you can work with. It's very interesting how they open up and people discover something at the sessions. But for now, just maybe look at it like a first position, and then the second position is this second card. How do they relate to each other? What do you see there? Like, is there a message here for you? Now, very interesting though that this first card is close to the death card, and the other one is close to the surrender and Ace of Pentacles. I'll leave this, guys, as a home task for you to interpret. And I have a whole playlist about metaphorical cards and some examples how to work with them. Of course, in YouTube setting, you cannot do as much as in personal sessions. Now, the next card is a tree card, and it's Tine Holy. So Tine Holy is associated with letter T. So perhaps you can meet someone whose name starts with letter T. It's also related to May 16th and June 12th in Northern Hemisphere dates, and November 16th, December 12th. So just keep in mind if it tells you anything, it's just something interesting to notice. This card is related to justice, protection, fighting strength, assertion and action, direction and purpose, balance, relationship, father, and paternity. So there's kind of like masculine energy on this card. However, you can take a look at the card as a metaphorical card and maybe see something different for yourself, which is also fine. You can interpret like that. But if to read from this oracle deck, this card pretty much reminds you about some kind of protection and some kind of sturdiness. Is that if you, for example, need to feel safety, you can even imagine yourself being like a tree which has strong leaves, and maybe it can help you in some way. It also reminds that things will pass. There is one cycle and there is another cycle, and that also it represents wholeness. It's good to stay unattached in certain cases, and to avoid judgment, to judge yourself and to be judged by others. So in case you have any fear of judgment, it's just a reminder that you are wholesome and you can support yourself. Breathe in unity, breathe in wholeness. Holy protects against self-generated negativity as well as that which comes from others. So this card is a male card, and it reminds you that it's important not to judge yourself, to get out of those patterns, and also not to judge others. If you have children, if you're a father, then be a great father. So if you haven't had any example in your life of someone being a good father to you, you can be yourself that father which you wish you had. Also, if you are in any kind of conflict or battle, so to speak, like a discussion, which in a way Death card could relate to, probably like coming out of battle, I would encourage you to nourish yourself, to really support yourself, and make sure that you, first of all, you understand yourself and you are on the same ground with yourself. Okay. So the next one is a moon card, and communication is key, new moon in Gemini. Gemini is a sign which is a master of communication in the best manifestation of this sign. And however, Gemini can also be a little bit on the chatty side. And I think here it's important to be a messenger, to look into your new life cycles, since we've talked a lot in this reading about starting a kind of new cycle. So maybe approach your words, how you communicate with others, in a fresh way, so that you allow yourself to communicate maybe in some different way, more authentic to you, maybe more thoughtful in some way. Or if you're too serious, too carefully, then maybe allowing yourself to be a little bit more air-like, to be lighter and to be more joyous and sharing with others something which you can share in common. New moon in Gemini also could be about finding a balance between heart and mind, so that you kind of make decisions from both of this, from the logic, so to speak, and from intuitive mind and from the heart. And also, I would say that maybe it's time to network more and communicate more with other people. Perhaps you can meet someone through socializing, through communicating to your friends or colleagues, or being in some kind of reading circles or language circles, something like that. Could be a time to take a short trip if you have a chance to do that in these times. I would also recommend some kind of meditation for your mind, to calm down your mind, in case you have a restless mind, to calm down the mind. And that way you kind of have more insightful, clear thoughts in your head. And it will be easier to communicate to your loved ones. All right, and so the next one is the message for you. And also you can take a look at the card and read from the card as a metaphorical card. The message reads, find strength in yourself to conquer your fears. And this is very important for moving on to something, because it's hard to go into a new relationship or a new phase in a relationship if you still are holding on or just have those fears somewhere at the back of your mind. Lots of things happen in our life because certain decisions are made in the subconscious, and also how we function here, at least in the 21st century, is that over 80%, and by some statistics even 90-something% of actions and things which happen in our life are related to subconscious mind. So that's why I work with this so much in consultations, because it's really essential. I would suggest, though, not to try to conquer all the fears at once, right? Just look at your love life and something you desire and think, what fears prevent me from getting there? And once you understand it, you can just get to the base fear. There's an exercise like this, or even just take whatever you can, one by one, deal with these fears. For example, a common thing is fear of rejection, or fear of judgment, or fear of abandonment, or fear of intimacy even, right? Fear of expressing yourself, like being authentic. And in relationships, we cannot build love on fears. These are not right bridges for love, a foundation. There will always be fears to work on, but some of them might affect your love life so much that you're kind of traveling from one relationship to the other one, and they all feel like the same movie all over again. So especially if you find it relevant to your life, I highly recommend you to deal first with harmonizing your inner world and finding some kind of release from those fears, and then moving to this new relationship if you're looking for that. Okay? I'm a deep believer in therapy, so it changed my life quite a lot to the positive. And also I've seen so many people whose life changes significantly after even 1 or 2 or 3 sessions, let alone if you take sessions on a regular basis. And now we're going to look at the astrology cards, and they would signify someone who you can meet in those 12 months, or maybe someone you already know who has those energies, as well as in general something like that influencing your love situation. Again, guys, a reminder that it's not like a destiny. Some people go from certain cycles faster within 3 months, some need 6 months or 12 months or 24 months. It doesn't matter. It's just that somewhere in this reading there might be messages which could possibly help you to find a more fulfilling love life. I hope so. So Saturn in Scorpio in the first house. This is about someone who, first of all, probably matured really fast. Maybe it's a person who had a parent absent for one reason or another. They had to support themselves early in life, or they are going now through a phase of life when, for example, Saturn is transiting their first house, and then they are, although it wouldn't be probably in Scorpio because Saturn now in Aquarius anyways. So let's say maybe they have natally Saturn in Scorpio in the first house, or maybe Saturn in Scorpio or the first house, and there is a certain transit. Right now Saturn is in Aquarius, which would mean that it was square Scorpio. Saturn in Scorpio in the first house is the type of person who doesn't like probably to jump around. These people would feel quite, how to say, straightforward, and also very down to earth to some extent, maybe even sometimes strict and harsh. But at the same time, they would speak something from the deep psyche. They might be not very wordy. This kind of energy and type of personality is someone who is probably a very disciplined person, quite focused. And I would say if they appear in your life, or unless you already know them, they would probably talk business, that they wouldn't be someone who is wishy-washy and, jumping around. They probably would come up with what they offer quite straightforwardly, maybe even too straightforwardly. Saturn in Scorpio can be related to finances, like investments, stock markets, and also someone who might come and affect you in some way, like with their personality, in terms of even maybe changing. They might be a person from a different status than you. Also, I would probably assume that these people either have this kind of deep, subdued sexual charisma, or they might be a little bit unusual, to some extent, which could be both attractive and disturbing at the same time. It's not something I learned, it's just something which I speak intuitively. So if, say, you are more of a light personality and are Jupiterian or Gemini type, or something like more bubbly, this might be a very contradictory energy for you. However, judging by the previous cards, what you're going through, to some extent you might be able to relate to this person just because they kind of open a different world to some extent. Usually such people, they mature fast, and I would say that something in their childhood and their life, like early years, might be quite restricting, but that taught them discipline and also how to control yourself to some extent. Also, this could be a numerologist, astrologist. I don't know, guys, like it just depends who you meet. Now, what else do we have here? So the next card is the animal card, and here we have a dog. This is a very interesting card, also in the way it's designed. You can take a look at it and you can interpret from the card itself, like an oracle card. If to read the definition with this oracle deck, is that the symbolism of dog is devotion, protection, service. Maybe you can think of what service do I bring to others? What do I protect? Who among those people who I love or consider as love partners, who feels to me like this protective type, or someone who can be with me longer, like more sincerely. Dogs are pretty sincere usually, like they're often not walking by themselves, like unless they're stray, but they want communication with the person, unlike cats maybe, who are a little bit more independent. Maybe if you have a chance to connect to dogs, also connect to dogs somehow. Or perhaps you meet someone who has a dog. That can also be in your life. I don't know if you guys are planning to acquire a dog. I think it's more of the qualities of a person here rather than getting a specific dog, but you know, dogs are so much fun. So if you get a dog, please share with us in the comments what kind of breed it is. The next card is a message card. Don't take anything personally. Relinquish self-importance. Actually, Saturn in the first is a lot about self-importance as well. I guess it just tells about your ability to take things wisely, whatever is said to you, right? So remember about your self-worth and also staying balanced, and this can help you. Perhaps you might also need it to put yourself out there a little bit more if you want to meet someone special, or maybe with a partner if you are afraid to speak about something. That card would remind you that you cannot put your needs back, you know, like, or you have to at some point address your needs as well as understand your partner's needs too. So next one is a metaphorical card. It's a resource for you. Take a look at this card. What do you see on this card? Do you like what you see? What does it tell you? So what kind of resource it shows to you? Like, since I'm very much lately into nutrition things and I've read so much about how sugar actually is bad for our health, I look at this card, and as much as I love sugar, I have a sweet tooth. I would read it rather not to indulge too much into. I mean, I'm not someone to tell you how to live your life, but since many people love sugar so much, I would encourage you to look at this card with pleasure rather than specific sweets. So what can be sweets in your life rather than direct sugar? All right, so usually I don't interpret cards, but I couldn't hold myself here. Okay. The next card is for personal borders. This is usually more like a challenge and solution card. I'll also show you 2 word cards after. Take a look at this card and think what is going on here with the personal borders. Do you recognize yourself here? Where you are on the card if you were one of the characters? What does it tell you, you know, about personal borders? It's kind of like a reminder. And another card is Тревога, anxiety. So you can take a look at this card and think, how does it change the meaning if there is anxiety here as well? And the solution card is Пишите, write. So it's just a suggestion to you. So perhaps if you feel anxious, you can write this kind of morning pages or whatever to put in a diary or somewhere, and not even to read it, but just write out to clear your mind so that you don't have to go around this vicious circle all the time. Maybe you get your own answers here as well. Now I'll show you a card for your inner child. Interesting that we've got the same card as they had in another pack as well. Maybe next time I will not mix them. But it's still good because it's a different word for the card. Take a look at the card and answer the question, where is your inner child there? How do they feel? How do they want to feel? What can you do for them? And the word card for this is spasat, to save. What kind of saving your inner child needs? Or maybe he or she wants to save someone. It's kind of like telling a little story to yourself about the card. You can take a screenshot and you can enlarge the card and so work with it a little bit more. Or you can book a session with me and then we can work with these cards. In the description I'll put a link for you. Alright guys, and then the last thing we're gonna do is Astro Dice. So this is to see what kind of people you might have within this 12 months. Of course, you probably will meet a lot of people. It's just one of the type of person, but they might be important for you, as well as certain type of energies, like archetypal energies, which you can deal with. And here we have South Node in Aries in the 3rd house. Very interesting, because now before I interpret this, I want to tell those who are not familiar with it, nodes, is that nodes are always karmic influences. inner chart of a person. So there's always a duality here. For example, if South Node is in Aries, then the North Node will be in Libra. And here we have juxtaposition of Libra and Aries and 3rd house and 9th house. So basically, this person would be someone who probably used to speak a lot about themselves, kind of a little bit selfish in communication, whether in the past life or in early stages of their life. And they might like talking about themselves with their friends and relatives, and also more focused on their own skills, on their own ability to achieve something. They might be jack of all trades as well. But in this life, they have to learn how to relate to the other person and how to maybe even perceive something from the intuitive perspective and higher wisdom rather than their own understanding of things, to be able to relate to people of different nations, for example. Like in terms of professions, I'm trying to think of what it could be. I think it's I guess it could be someone who had a business, maybe at some point, a small business, but then they are reconsidering what to do now, and maybe they used to be like a sports teacher or something like that. They could also be connected to motivational speaking, public speaking, and again, through their life, they can change the profession. Maybe it's someone who you know through friends. And if it's your partner, it could be someone who has Aries, 3rd house cusp, and possibly South Node there. But again, like here, we're just looking at certain combination of energies. Alright guys, here is my reading. Subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and share in the comments what your insights were. I'm really always happy to read the comments and reply to them whenever I can. This is kind of the first experience of this sort to me, and I lost my voice twice. Now, I want to say also that you can next time watch it and choose another deck if that calls to you more. You can watch this video a few times through different years if you want. Stay well, share with us in the comments what your love was during these 12 months, and I will see you hopefully in another video.